So I've been thinking, what if 2021 ends up being Nintendo's big year? Maybe not the biggest year, but I feel like it's very likely we might see a lot more from Nintendo that we are used to seeing. Maybe not exactly like 2017 Nintendo, but something that's a lot more frequent than 2020. Let's discuss. Now you might be wondering why exactly I feel like there's this sort of possibility, right, that 2021 for Nintendo is going to be a big year, right? And truth be told, there's not really much going off of it other than a gut feeling, right? Like I obviously don't know much, but what I've seen from a few games here and there, 2020 kind of just happened near the end. We got maybe a few games uh, scattered around, I want to say, the majority of the year. And then when we got near the end, we get, 3D All Stars, we get Age of Calamity, which, by the way, I'm very excited for Age of Calamity. And that's great, right? That's great. But, 2020 as a whole hasn't really had that much going on. Now, we know why, right? Like, it's very obvious the reason why, right? The pandemic that has been going on since, I believe, March or so, basically changed things a ton, right? I believe there was even like a contest for the 35th anniversary of Mario for Mario Maker 2 that pretty much confirmed that everything Mario related anyways was basically delayed by like 5 months. That's a long time. So it's very likely that there are games coming out that were supposed to release a long time ago, especially the Mario games, since we know that for sure, but I'm sure games in general has been affected due to the pandemic. So I believe that initially we were supposed to get those games earlier in 2020, but things happen. It's understandable. COVID happened. I'm not the type of guy who is in a rush to play anything, right? So I understand that. I'm happy the games are coming in general. I'll play them when they release and when they're ready. Now, with that being said, I feel like because of this, 2021 is going to be a little more packed than we're used to. I feel that after a certain point, companies are going to kind of get used to seeing their development go in a certain way, right? With the developers working from home, things are not going to speed up, but I think things are going to be a little more, prepared. Things are not going to be like randomly internally delayed. Things are going to be told to us when they're ready and when they're sure they are ready. So I feel a lot of 2021 games are going to release in 2021 as planned. And because of certain announcements, like partner showcases where they showed the Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne Remaster and Shin Megami Tensei 5 releasing in 2021, it goes to show that they were going to announce these games ahead of time for 2021, and then on top of that, we're going to see games like 3D World in 2021. No More Heroes 3 was delayed recently to release for 2021. These games that were clearly meant to release in 2020 are overflowing, essentially leaking into the next year. They're releasing in 2021 instead, right? So because I believe developers are starting to get used to, developing at home, they know they have a better idea when their game should be ready, when their game should be releasing. I believe games that are as far out as 2021 are going to essentially be ready for 2021, considering that's been planned so far ahead of time. And while maybe things may have slowed down a bit, I don't believe it'll go into 2022 as much. Unless maybe it's like a giant, massive project kind of game, kind of like Breath of the Wild 2. But I like to believe, let me be optimistic. I like to believe that Breath of the Wild 2 will release in 2021. Maybe the end of 2021, right? And there's other things that have been rumored for quite some time, right? I believe Bloomberg reported that a Switch upgrade of some kind will be releasing in 2021, or at least be announced in 2021. I'm saying 2021 so much in this video. But just in general, it seems that even if you don't go by rumors and whatnot, we know that there have been multiple games that are told to us for the first time since seeing them that they will release in 2021. Same goes for multiple games that were initially planned for this year are suddenly releasing next year, like 3D World, right? With the Mario Maker thing telling us that these games were basically delayed for 5 months. No More Heroes. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming too. The remaster for Shin Megami Tensei 3. The fact that they felt the need to put out a Zelda game this year, which by the way, they always put out a Zelda game every year, which I kind of totally forgot about. And I feel like I should have remembered that, but I didn't. So it makes sense why Age of Calamity is coming out if Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming out this year, which I didn't really think it was. I thought it was very likely it would be a 2021 thing, a very late 2021 game. But with that being said, there's this sort of, I guess, potential that games that were meant to release in 2021 are going to stay releasing next year, while also having multiple games that were meant to release this year release next year as well. So I'm not saying we're gonna see a colossal ton of games every month, every week, every day, right? I'm not saying that, right? I'm not. But what I am saying is, I think it seems likely that we might see more games than, let's say, this year, right? This year, for a lot of people, was basically just maybe 1 or 2 games from Nintendo, like Animal Crossing released, I believe that Xenoblade Chronicles, and other than those 2, it was mostly those 2 for like a large majority of the year. Maybe there's something else that I'm forgetting about. Oh, Paper Mario. Yeah, that's one. But in the span of like nearly the entire year, we basically got like 3 games, which is, I don't know if you guys look at it this way, but I do. I think that's slower than usual. I'm not exactly researching Nintendo's development history when I say this, but it's just a feeling I have. And then suddenly we have 3D All-Stars, which are mostly ports. And then we have, Age of Calamity, which I think is the most exciting game coming out this year, considering it's brand new. It's tied to a game that I feel is one of the best games of all time. So I'm very excited for Age of Calamity. But knowing this, we went into 2020 believing that No More Heroes 3 was releasing this year. That we didn't even know when Shin Megami Tensei 5 was releasing. That 3D World was just a rumor at the time, and we don't even know about Bravely Default 2, which was also supposed to release this year, but I don't believe that's going to be the case, considering we haven't heard anything. Unless there has been some news and I just haven't paid attention to it, which is possible. I'm not really a fan of Bravely Default, but I know it was supposed to release this year. But if not, we haven't heard anything. So I'm very confident Bravely Default 2 might just end up being another 2021 game. So we went into this year expecting multiple games to release, and due to the pandemic, which is again totally understandable, they're releasing next year instead. So all I'm saying is we might end up having what was originally supposed to be 2 years worth of content kind of condensed a little bit into the next year. Right, we might see No More Heroes 3, Bravely Default 2, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Breath of the Wild 2, all these other games, plus multiple games that I'm sure they haven't even announced yet, considering Nintendo, especially of recent, has developed this habit of announcing games very close to release. I think 3D All-Stars was genuinely like 2 weeks, I think, prior to the game releasing. So, they can just come out of nowhere and just announce a game that also comes out in 2021 anytime. They could do that anytime. So that's kind of all I have to say for you guys in this video. I'm just feeling really optimistic about 2021. And if it doesn't happen the way I'm thinking, then that's fine, right? I think it's normal to kind of understand that this pandemic has hit these companies pretty hard. I think Nintendo more so than others for some reason, if you go by their track record right now. But yeah, So that's kind of just how I feel about it. Let me know if you feel the same way. Do you think 2021 has the potential to be a big year for Nintendo? Or do you think it'll just be another year with the usual amount of games? But that's all. So I'll see you guys in the next one.
Shifty, yeah, shifty. Wanna be the #1 gamer, come and get me. It'd be dope if you subscribe, could you like the vid, please? Take your time, you don't gotta do it swiftly.